But you just, I mean, I can't imagine my life without you, because you are an instiller of hope and you are an instiller of love. And for that, I've learned to become a better woman because of you. I just love you dearly.
All right. Okay, Jack. I'm going to try to share without crying. So I guess I should try to make you guys laugh first. I guess just to laugh first. I was over at Jack's house, I think it was like a year ago, and I was really hungry while he was cooking. It's like lunchtime, and he had a bowl of fruit, I guess, on his table, and I was gonna grab the apple and almost bit into it, not realizing it was fake, right? And so I told Jack, I said, Jack, good thing I did not bite into that apple, otherwise I would have sued you. And then he said, well, I would have sued you back for ruining my fruit. Is that funny? Okay, so Philippians 1:3, it says that I thank my God every time I remember you in my prayer. Oh my gosh, there you go. I am honored to speak in front of you guys to talk about Jack. A minute and a half is not enough. I would need a day or two or three, I don't know, a year of my life to talk about you. I would never forget how we met, how you, oh my gosh, I don't know whose is this, but I'm using it. You've accepted me wholeheartedly with no judgment. And I never thought that I will find a 25-year-old man as my friend in our church. That's you, Jack, you're 25. And you've inspired me, just like Justina, to be a better woman for God. Your friendship helped me find hope again, and joy, and lots of laughter. I told you if I would write a book, it would just be about all your jokes that you've told me and all the wise things you've told me. And you've helped me find courage again. And you've also helped me think about my future. And most especially, you've helped me restore my relationship with God, which is the most important thing. And my prayer and hope is that when I grow up, just like you, that I will be just as funny, faithful, loving, and really busy in helping other people. And my prayer is that you stay young, and that you will give me the recipe on making that the clam chowder before you leave. But I truly love you, and Jack, you are one of the greatest blessings that I received the moment I stepped into this church, and I will never, I guess the word thank you is not enough to express to you how grateful I am for you. And I truly love you with all of my heart. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. For those of you that don't know, I'm Jack's oldest son, Robert. Most of his family's here today, my son, Brian, and my brother, John, and their families. I would say to the eldership that in the future, you not tell the person that you're giving these to, because we got our marching orders last night, and that was to thank you and get off the stage. And I know my dad would feel much more comfortable if I not dwell on his accomplishments, but talk about things that mean so much to him. And I'll tell you, when they decided to move from San Diego to Palm Desert, I know that the one concern on their mind was, where were they going to find a congregation out here that they could worship with, that meant as much to them as the one in San Diego. And it wasn't very long that they lived here that they told us that they had found that congregation. And I know that him and my mom are so blessed to have all of you. You know, when my dad told me that I only had a minute up here, I told him, you know, the congregation here doing this first time for you, Dad, is, and holding you in such high esteem to do this on the same day as the AFC NFC Championship game tells you how important you are. And honestly, Dad, if it weren't for DVRs, John and I wouldn't even be here. I want to thank Paul for going through some highlights in my dad's life. How blessed John and I were to be there that whole time, and to show what they did at the York Christian School for that campus. My dad spends a lot of times in Christian education. He's on a lot of boards, but what you saw there was a lot of my mom. She's the one that spent the time and the energy to get that done. It was early on that I think our family knew my dad was going to be involved with Christian education. I can remember when I was about 5 or 6, he was going to teach me how to tell time. And they bought me I can remember my mom and my dad, they'd come in and they brought a nice brand new clock. And my dad spent probably 20, 30 minutes, which is a long time when you're 5 years old, explaining all the different times. And I got him down pretty good, 5, 10, 15, 2:15. Finally got to that point, and then he wanted to teach me the before and after phrase of time. So he would say, "What time is it?" And I say, "It's 2:20. "No, it's 20 after 2. I could never get that. He got more frustrated after about an hour. And at one point, he had me sit there and read. I'll never forget this. He took a permanent marker and he put a line down the middle and he wrote before and after on my new clock. And he wanted me to sit there and get this concept. And about 20 minutes later, he came in and he says, "Are you ready?" And I says, "Well, I don't know." And he says, "Well, what time is it?" And I couldn't get it. And he picked that clock up and threw it against the wall and broke it. So you can understand a couple weeks later when my mom came in and said, "Your dad's going to teach you how to tie your shoes." How much I was looking forward to that. Dale this morning talking about the sales side of Christianity. We got to be very fortunate that my dad, and his passion was in that sales department and not in the teaching. I will tell each of you, driving over here today, I noticed there were 6 for sale signs up in our complex, or in my dad's complex. So my prayers are being answered. He cannot sell his house. I know that 2 of the grandkids and 4 of the greats have moved to Oklahoma, and my son and his family are now contemplating it. And I heard from my dad that he's going to move to Oklahoma. And I looked at John, and I says, "Well, what does that say about us?" So, I want to say that, I want to tell every one of you here that I want to thank every one of you here for all that you do for each other. I've seen it firsthand, and especially for what you've done for my mother and my father. I want to thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Brian. I'm the grandson that you've been hearing about, and I got to apologize. I thought this was a roast and not a... So buckle up. It's easy to come up with a list of excellence when talking about my grandpa. We've heard all the wonderful things he's done to set an example for Christians, for other family members or everything, but I had it the best. He was my grandpa. So I got all the good stuff and none of the bad stuff. My wife and I were picking out some of these pictures that you were looking at earlier, and we were laughing. Every one of them, my wife would say, "This is a great shot of him. this is a great shot of him. Every picture she pulled out was a great shot of him. And we come to realize he can't take a bad picture. Your smile is infectious, and it lights up the entire room, takes up your whole face. And it was neat to see that. It's easy to pick out pictures of you for these things, for your memorial. You're extremely generous with your time. I mean, there's never no in your vocabulary when it comes to wanting to do something, whether it be with us or my kids or his kids. Financially generous. I'm sure there's a lot of people in this room, the wedding dress, those types of things that you're just financially generous. All your time that was spent on the corporate boards and schools, and just the time that you gave that you didn't have to, but you wanted to. You have a special ability to connect with people, and that transcends generations. I met gentleman AJ last night, and it's that type of stuff where you don't hang out with people your own age a lot of the times. You're just at home with someone in their 70s as you are with someone in their, my youngest is 18 months old, and she runs to you now. It's a beautiful thing. It doesn't happen a lot. You're modest. You've had great successes in your life, in Navy, your CPA, your development, but you're never boastful about it. Act like you've been there, and you've been there. What a great example of a family man. I've learned so much from watching you and how you treated Grandma. I remember every accolade that you ever received, you'd start off, "This is all because of my wonderful wife. I wouldn't be here without you." I hope when I'm 85 years old that people see that in me. The birth of my daughters, you were there for both of them. I remember my oldest being born, she's 6 now, and he almost got in a fight with my mother-in-law because he picked up my eldest daughter, Isla, and wouldn't put her down. And the mother-in-law's standing there going, "It's my turn. It's my turn." And he just shut everything out of the world and held her. My parents were actually in Oklahoma when my youngest daughter was born. I remember she was born early in the morning, and I remember calling my grandpa because I knew he would be one of the only people I knew that would be up, and said, "Well, guess what, Grandpa? We're a family of 4 now." And I remember he couldn't get off the phone fast enough. He hopped in his car, met us at the hospital at 5:15 in the morning, held her for about an hour and a half, and then said, "See you later." Got in his car and drove back to the desert. But it just showed me, he always had time for you. Nothing was too important that he couldn't be there, and he would drop anything just to be a part of that moment. You're an excellent example of being a Christian. My dad, my uncle, our family are Christians because of you. And I appreciate that and want to thank you for that. My kids will be Christians because of the example that you have put in motion. I started this off by saying that you're the best grandpa. I got to do a lot of things that other little boys my age did not get to do. I got to go hunting when I was 6 years old and shoot guns and fish and be a general outdoorsman, stuff that's frowned upon sometimes these days. Got to stay up all night crappie fishing and catfishing, and I'll remember those till the day I die. He would let me catch bullfrogs and horned toads when we were in Oklahoma, and didn't even say anything when I'd put them in my pocket when we were going back home, so I could smuggle them back on the airplane and take them home. You show us that it's never too late to learn, and whether that be electronics or cooking, it's neat to see. I know if I get a phone call at 6 o'clock in the morning on a weekday, it's going to start out, it's going to be from him, and it's going to start out, "Now, I didn't do anything different, but my iPad is not working when I do this. I didn't do anything different, but my computer is doing this. I didn't do anything different, but my cable box won't turn on." And most people I might hit ignore. I can appreciate how hard that has to be for you and your generation, and it's neat to see you try and put forth the effort. So I'll answer whatever other questions you have. He's an example of, although he's 85 years old, and will be 86 at the end of this year, acting like a kid is okay. It's almost encouraged. Whether it be golfing or hunting or fishing with us older, or coloring with my daughters, or stacking blocks with my youngest daughter. He'll sit there for hours and just do it over and over and over. And my wife and I will sit back there and just watch and just go, I can't believe that he's not just saying, all right, time for nap time. He's all in. He lives with conviction, whether faith, politics, ethics, and he lets you know where he stands without alienating you. I'd get in trouble as a young boy, and my mom would let me hear about it. If I did something a little bit worse than that, my mom and dad would let me hear about it. When I did something really bad, my mom and dad would say something about it, and then my grandpa would come over. And all he'd have to say is how disappointed he was. And that was worse than any punishment I could ever get. And it made me just see that that's the gentle side of him that I'd like to emulate with my kids. All I had to do was say he was disappointed, and it was crushing. I knew I did wrong, and I knew I wanted to do anything in my power to turn that around. He has the unique ability to steer you in a direction without making it seem like he steered you. Luckily, he uses that for good. But we were joking around preparing for this, and it was, we have a strong father figure in our household that allows us to ask not only what would Jesus do, but what would Grandpa Jack do? So we love you, and we're glad they're honoring you because you deserve it. Thank you.
This is the closest I got to one of Jack's favorite songs, or at least somebody in his family's favorite song. Number 539, Higher Ground. I'm pressing on the upward way, new heights I'm gaining every day, still praying as I onward bound, Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's tableland, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. My heart has no desire to stay where doubts arise and fears dismay. Though some may dwell where these abound, my prayer, my aim is higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's tableland, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. I want to live above the world, though Satan's darts at me are hurled. For faith has caught the joyful sound, the song of saints on higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's tableland, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. I want to scale the utmost height and catch a gleam of glory bright. But still I'll pray till heaven I've found. Lord, lead me unto higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's stable land. A higher plane that I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground.
I've never been to a funeral when the guy's still alive. It's my first time. I wanted to thank Paul and Debbie for putting this on. Arete? It's an unusual name, but what a great concept. Let's give honor to those who deserve honor, and I just love it. So you couldn't have started with a better guy. If you look up the word bittersweet, this would be it. You know, we're excited for Jack and his journey, and we look forward to him just moving on and moving to doing things he loves to do, but boy, is it bitter for us that are here. I wanted to talk about a couple things, and then we're going to turn it over to Jack, and we'll let you guys go. Jack has been an awesome elder to serve with. Amen. For the past several years on Monday nights, we meet with Jack. And Jack has always got a kind word, a funny quip, and has something to say about everything. But boy, do we listen when he says it. And he has just been a blessing to have as one of the elders of this church. I've loved serving with him. He's taught me a lot. If my dad were still alive, I'd want him to be just like Jack. That's the kind of man he is. They say behind every good man is a good woman, and in Jack's case, it is doubly so. Jack had a great wife, and she brings back so many great memories. We love Barbara with all of our heart. You know, Jack, a couple things. I promised I wouldn't roast Jack, but I do have a couple small little things. One time it was late at night, and Jack was going to leave after the elders meeting and go back to San Diego for something he had to attend, and it was stormy night, and it was stormy out, and I hadn't known Jack's personal background too far. I didn't know what he did, but I knew Jack drove a very small little white car. And I thought, Jack, do you need somebody to take you over? That's a pretty small car. He assured me he had a bigger car in the garage. But I did not know that Jack had more than that one little car, because that shows the character of Jack, is his humbleness of he can drive around in a small little white car and not worry about what other people may think about him. I was worried about his safety to getting back to San Diego. Another time, Jack, and I'm sorry if I'm giving this information out, Jack, but since it is a eulogy, we can say these things. There was a time when Jack would tell us that, tell the elders that he was going in the hospital, or he's in the hospital doing some testing, and please don't tell my children. And so we had to keep it quiet, but we would follow up on him to make sure he made it out of the hospital and things were going on okay. And so those are some of the things Jack never wanted anybody to worry about him. He didn't want to bother you with things. And so that's the kind of person Jack was. And some is. So I'm on this eulogy thing. You know, some of the comments this morning, or I guess this afternoon now, has been about how you can find a friend in a man that is so much older than you and has such a different background, but that is the uniqueness of Jack. He can do things, he can say things, and put a calming voice to something that is just, it's a remarkable talent that God has blessed him with. He has become friends with brothers and sisters of this congregation of all ages. I didn't know as far down as 18 months, but that's pretty good. When you think about what you want to be, I don't care if you're a male or female, when you think about what you want to be when you get older, it's Jack Rowe. That's what you want to be when you get older. Because you want this, you want to have the respect from the group that you're with, and you want to be able to have the confidence to walk into any situation and be able to stand up and pronounce your faith to others. And I think that's what Jack does more than anything else. One time Jack had asked, I think it was just my son and I, Jack. I think it was Diane couldn't make it for some reason. But anyway, Jordan and I had gone out to lunch with Barbara and Jack. And one of the things that, Jordan's, he's probably 14 at the time, or 15 or 16. And he was like, "Oh, we got to go, Dad." "Yes, we got to go, Jordan." "Okay, we're going to go." So we go, and we have the best time sitting talking to Jack and Barbara. And afterwards, I remember Jordan saying, "He's a pretty cool guy, Dad." Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. Well, the relationship that Jack and Jordan developed over the next few years, was remarkable to say the least. Jordan has the utmost respect for Jack. And Jack, thank you. He had such a great influence on my son, and I appreciate that. I want to just say one thing about Jack. This is the only roast joke I have, but somebody, I think it was a politician, was talking and said that they felt themselves to be much like Abraham Lincoln. And Jack uttered, "I knew Abraham Lincoln, and you are no Abraham Lincoln." That was the only thing I had to say about that roasting part of it. So we're not going to put this off any longer. Jack, would you come up, please? Have a seat just for a second. I want to ask you something. If you have ever been touched, and if you have ever had a moment where Jack has helped you along, has said a kind word, or has interfered in your life in a way to make it such a positive thing, I would like to have you to stand up. Now, there you go. There's a bunch of people that you've had an influence on. We appreciate you, brother. I want to read this to you. This award says, I'm going to mess it up again. Arete Award is the Greek word for moral excellence that is found in Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, that'd be you, Jack, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellence or praiseworthy, think about such things. The Palm Desert Church of Christ presents this award to Jack and Barbara Rowe for their moral excellence and spiritual service given in the cause of Christ on this 24th day of 2016. Thank you, brother.
Please have a seat. I have about an hour's talk. I can't begin to tell you how thankful I am to see all the men in this crowd with the 2 football games that are on today. And to be very honest with you, I didn't really know I was this good. If I had, I would have been asking for a lot more money. This is, I think John described it as well as anything. Bittersweet is the perfect word. I can't tell you how much this church meant to Barbara and I. Barbara, I'm glad to see her name on this. We really found out what God joins together becomes one. And when she died, I became a half a person. And so I'm thankful for a tremendous pair of sons who were made that way because of a lady named Barbara Rowe. Their father, and they would probably thank me for this, was gone most of the time. But she, that was a duet, by the way. And I thank you so much for recognizing her and what she has meant to this family. And speaking of families, what a great one this is. And I've said it many times that this church will be the exact same church when I walk out of that door as it was when I walked in that door. And the reason is because of an old song in our book. Why did the Savior come to earth? And the chorus tells exactly why. Because he loved me so. So as long as the love of this church lasts, this church will be great. And I thank you so much for this unbelievable, and to be very honest with you, undeserved honor. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you to stand, and I'm going to ask you to make one row in from these two to one, holding hands as we bow in prayer. If it's inconvenient for you, you can be the last one in the row, but we're joining hands with everyone. We are a family, amen?